Hi, beautiful being. It's lovely to be out here on my backyard under a blue sky. It's been ages since there's been a blue sky. So just before I get started on what the 0 Point Field and I have been crafting and writing today, I'm going to show you the world because there's stuff to see. I'm going to walk over here and hope the Wi-Fi doesn't fade out. But before I forget about it, look at these. We have daffodils. Yay, we have daffodils. Look at that. I love these ones. They're old-fashioned, they're an antique, and they're double, and they're just gorgeous. And then these are much more modern, and they're also gorgeous. Smaller, but very cute. So the daffodils are out. It's very exciting having daffodils. And the jonquils over here are getting pretty old, but all the same, even aging flowers have a beauty. Excuse me. Oh my goodness, look over there. There are some dandelions that are flowering. When I've finished today, I will dig those out. It's the one thing that I don't allow in this garden. And I put some in a pot because I want them there. But look at this. We've got yellow daisies. Let me walk up the back. And then I'll show off. No, I'm going to show these off right now. Look at these. I'm very fond of this jonquil. It's so elegant. This is the little gentleman. It's so perfect. Let me see if I can find one that hasn't been munched. No, they've mostly all been munched. That's a brand new one. There you go. Look at that. So, and they have a lovely little buttery smell, and they're just beautiful this time of the year. And up here, you can see lots of jonquils. This is the early chairs come out. Most people are familiar with the early chair. This is a double jonquil. It's gorgeous. And you can see it's the double of this, which is the single one. And if you look, I don't know if you can see, there's no dewdrops. There's actually spider's web there, but it's so fine. I don't know if it comes out on the camera. So we have jonquils, and I'm very fond of them. Hello, beautiful being. It's great to see you here. The paper white have been out for a while, so they're starting to age, but still beautiful. And the snowdrops, likewise, they've been out for a little while. So they're here doing their winter thing. I will not say these are spring flowers. These are winter flowers. So, and this is the world. And we have this bright spot of yellow over here behind the ghost plants, which are getting tall. We have bright yellow daisies. And the last of the acacia flowers. They're getting a little bit tired. And up here, it won't be long before there's corfire bursting into yellow flowers and there's tui fighting over who's going to eat the nectar. So it's all happening. And it's so nice to see the sun. And I completely forgot to show you that there's a magnolia over there and it's coming into flower. So I'll show you that. And then I'll go inside and tell you what I've been doing for God of me this Wednesday morning. Oh, banging into things here, but look. There it is, there's the flower. And you can see the whole tree is sort of busting to come out. So let's go inside now. I'll turn this around. Hi, gorgeous. It's you I'm talking to. And I suppose me a little bit. It's just beautiful to see the sunshine. So, but I have my little list of songs inside that I want to tell you about. Tell you what I've written today and where we started and where we've ended up. And it's been pretty good, really. Yeah, it's a scruffy laundry, but I tell you, I'm very grateful to have a scruffy laundry. There's a reason why it's scruffy. There's a reason for everything, don't you think? Okay, take my hat off. Put myself in place here, and the camera will promptly look at the floor. There we go. Here I am, sitting inside, getting myself organised so I can tell you what's been going on. My goodness, I wandered around the garden for a while, didn't I? But it's so pretty outside. I wanted to see everything. So, last week, we were really talking about intention and navigating through your life and dealing with confusion and what do you do if you just don't know which way to go and all of that stuff. And if you are interested in that and haven't seen it, there's a link to my Patreon below this. You can just go to Patreon, follow me for free, and you can read that stuff. Or actually, not read that stuff, you can listen to that stuff. The 0 Point Field and I are writing, and it's about, well, how to live, really. It's about how to be God of me. That's the whole point of God of me. So last week, the bigger context is that we are talking about navigating life when things aren't clear, when it's confusing, when you don't know. And the thing is that most people think that they use their brain to navigate life. You think, you analyse, you gather information, you do all of that good stuff. But what humans mostly don't recognise is that they've got another navigation system here, and they've got a third navigation system in their gut. And when all of those three compasses are going together, then even when this doesn't know the other two, you can access the information you need. And it's a super tool. It's just amazing. And I can say that because that's how it works for me in real life. I get faced with difficult stuff like everybody else. But when I can get those compasses working together, I know what to do. I know what's right for me. And the choices get borne out over time. Because some choices you really don't know how it's going to go until 2 years down the track. But this part, and this part, and this part, when they work together, they actually have a handle on time as well. Just to get a little bit weird for a minute. So what I was doing at the start of this morning, when we got into the writing, was I looked at what we just finished, and this is normal. I always kind of read back over it and make sure that it's complete, and it just about was, except there was this one little piece. Because there was those of you who've been listening for a little while will remember that a few weeks ago we were talking about the electromagnetic field of a random piece of rubbish, and how much information there might be available in that. And what I realised was that there was no connection between what that was about, because there's a ton of information available in any random piece of rubbish, because there's a ton of information available in one little proton in your little finger. Doesn't matter where you look, the information's there. What you got to do is know how to connect with it and how to use it. And so I've been very mindful that that's the story the 0 Point Field and I are trying to tell. And of course, the 0 Point Field is all now, all knowing, all time, in one moment. And my job is to translate that into something that someone with a three-dimensional mind that works with A to B to C to D to E, humans function in a linear fashion. So, got to do this translation to linear things. And so I'm trying to tell a story that actually links up. Hi Mike, it's great to see you. So I noticed a big hole, and so I plugged the hole. I made the connection between, here's the thing with getting information from the electromagnetic field of anything and using it to guide myself. And what happens then, the next piece that comes after that is, okay, so how do I do that? And there are 5 basic steps, which surprised me because I never thought about there being 5 steps of how this actually works. The first thing is you've got to have an intention. And an intention is not, I want a $500,000 house that's blue and is in that suburb and has this many rooms and whatever, although people do that and they manifest those. But many of us don't actually have intentions that are that clear, and sometimes we've got no freaking idea what we do want. We just know what we don't want. And so the first thing is to understand what an intention actually can be when you've got no idea, and really it's just a question that seeks an answer, and the discomfort and the pain that you feel, that's the question. But we did a whole thing, 0 Point Field and I, which you can, if you are not already on Patreon or you missed it or you want to be, in the last 2 weeks we covered what you do with that. And it's really practical. And that to me is important because I like stuff that actually works and that I can use when there's crap going on. Well, what can I actually do about this? I don't want to throw up my hands in the air and feel bad and be able to do nothing about it. So we made the connection between there's energy, there's information available, there's a tool you can use to do that. The first part of that is intention. The next part of that is getting your heart coherent. And after that comes brain coherence, and then literally being able to search frequencies and energy and information like you search the web, And then there's something else. The last piece is actually being able to open up and receive something new that you've got no idea what it is. And this is what I actually do, okay? And I change, and my life changes. So I know that this works. But having the 0 point field explain it and me translate it is different from me just writing about it like I would myself. So, the secret wonder tool, which is this heart, brain, gut coherence. The first thing is you got to have something you want, even if it's just, I don't want that. And then you got to do heart coherence, because the reason why we don't know, the reason why we can't access all that information that's there in a random piece of rubbish or your finger or a tree or the person that's sitting next to you or the situation, the physical condition that's in your body or whatever it is, the reason why we can't access the information about what that is and the next step that we can take to change it is most of us walk around all day having a pretty incoherent heart and a pretty incoherent brain. And since those two, plus your gut, are where you get your information, if they're incoherent, you're not going to get the information. It's like, this is like your connection to the internet. If you don't have this connected to the signal, you're not going to get no signal. You're not going to get no information. End of story. And we wonder why. We wander through our lives being confused and not knowing. We don't know how to make our heart coherent, and we don't know how to make our brain coherent. So that's why those are the, intention. I've got something I want to change. Okay. But after that comes heart coherence and brain coherence. You don't got nothing without it. Period. It's really simple. So this is the next piece of the wonder tool. And we ended up calling it a wonder tool because to me it is a wonder tool. This is what allows me to go, hell, I don't know. And I did it this morning. There was this mishmash of crap flying around in my awareness of all these things that were kind of, and it all became very clear because I know how to do this and the information can get to me. It's really that simple. It's taken some practice. I will not pretend for one moment that most people will just pick this up and run with it and it'll be easy. There's bound to be some people that will, but I wasn't one of them. So we got the story linked up, and this is where the story's at. And then, we started writing, we started writing about heart coherence a couple of weeks ago. But then I had to keep circling back to the intention piece because it wasn't complete. And we can never move on to the next bit until this was complete. And so I've been filling that in. And now it is complete. It's like, okay, 0 point field, what are we doing with this heart coherence thing? And you know what it is? It's this beautiful practical exercise for somebody who's never ever done it. Somebody who is really good at feeling bad. And trust me, I was. Because I've been doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. Never missed a day. Since the 19th of April 2019, I think. And one of the key things that Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches is that in order to create change in your life, you've got to have a clear intention. And believe me, I had problems with that because, like I say, I didn't really have those kinds of intentions, but I know how to do that now, even when I don't know what the question is. You've got to have a clear intention. And you've also got to have an elevated emotion to pair with that. And what they keep finding, and there's a lot of science around it, it's not just woo-wah, it's actually, this works, is that if you put those two together, a clear intention, which you've got to have a coherent brain to do that, and an elevated emotion, which you've got to have a coherent heart to do that, well, you can manifest stuff, and people do it all the time. So I know it works, and there's science to explain how and why it works. The problem was, I couldn't do it. Because I was really good at feeling like crap, and I was really crap at feeling good. And it took me years, okay? Because I didn't understand how much my body was accustomed to feeling like crap, and why that made it so hard to feel any different. So, the exercise, the practical application that the 0 point field started to give me 2 weeks ago, and then I got to finish it today, was actually an exercise for somebody like that. An exercise for somebody like me a few years ago. It's like, what do you mean feel love or feel gratitude or feel happy? Are you crazy? It's an exercise for that person, because that was me. And even with that in mind, it's not how I would have done it. It's how the 0 Point field decided to do it. You know, and if someone else is taking this dictation, it'd probably be different again, but this is the way it came through. And anybody who knows anything about heart coherence at all knows that fundamentally it's something to do with putting your awareness in your chest where your heart is and breathing. But then, of course, you can do that in 50,000 different ways because, you know, well, you can. So I've been a little bit surprised about how this exercise has been constructed. And I'm not going to go through it now because what I want to do is read it onto video, because I do that with whatever we've written. I will read it and I'll put it up on my Patreon in a couple of days. And then everybody who follows me for free will be able to listen to that and actually sit somewhere that's peaceful and quiet, because I think you probably need 10 or 15 minutes, and do the exercises as we read it out. Because it's quite lovely, and also I'd really like to know what you think. So that's what we did this morning. It was this quite challenging piece of going backwards and forwards from a few weeks ago and thinking there's a hole there, and connecting that up, and then making sure that all the little string of pearls actually tells a sensible linear story, because of course I got to unpack this stuff that's not linear and make it linear so that we can learn it in a step-by-step fashion, because that's what humans need. It isn't how it works in the 0 Point field. There's no time there. Can't have linear things when there's no time. But that's what we did today, is made that exercise something that anybody can do. And what I found lovely, and I'm sure, I'll tweak the end of this just to, because we ran out of time, right? We always do run out of time. That's what happens. You get to the end of the morning and I've got to stand up and do this. But one thing I'm really aware of is that when we are learning something new, or even if we're learning something or practicing something that, and you might have been doing it for years like I did and not really having massive results. I mean, I was getting our results, but not in terms of feeling, being able to choose to feel good. Is to realize that just trying to feel a different feeling is a massive success in and of itself. Because I didn't even used to know that you could choose to feel a different feeling. That to me was impossible. What? But it is actually a choice. The reason why it's so hard is because our bodies are physically adapted, chemically adapted to the neurochemistry and then the biochemistry that comes out of that, the body chemistry that comes out of that, that goes with the certain feelings that we have because we think the way we do. And of course, our common thoughts and feelings are what tell our body how to be. So, and we renew our body every year. Every cell in our body gets renewed every year. It gets rebuilt. So why does it stay the same if the template for eternal, cells are actually eternal. They don't, there's cell lines that have been quietly replicating in petri dishes for 50 years. It takes the human and their thinking and feeling to send the signal that takes that lovely balance and makes it get old and tired and sick and finally leave the body. That's why I think those myths and those stories of people who live for thousands and thousands of years, I think it's true. But it's about how you think and how you feel from moment to moment, to day. I mean, imagine if somebody could get born and manage to grow up without losing the joy and the life and the everything that young children feel. You manage to have an adult awareness of choices and things you can do, but without the trauma and the memories and the bad shit that happens. And so you're still going through life filled with wonder, and yet you're able to navigate it without getting kicked around by it. Now that body wouldn't age. Why would it? It's still got the wonder and the joy and the life of a child. So we change, and our energy changes, and the signals to the body change. This is how powerful we are. And so if you've been, like I was, feeling a certain way for 50 mumble years, and then you decide you want to feel another way, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel impossible. And more than that, you're probably going to start to feel really pissed off. And when you feel really pissed off, that's because your body's saying, I don't want to change what I'm used to. I don't want to change my baseline. I'm used to feeling miserable. Don't you dare change the chemistry that I'm used to. That's what a feeling is, chemistry. So this exercise makes it sound so boring. This practical experience of actually being able to take control of some of that and have a go at choosing an unfamiliar feeling and trying it, or if the feeling is familiar, trying to make it more, is something that anybody can learn to do. And believe me, if I can learn how to bring up love or gratitude on command, anybody can. Because it was so hard. And I know why, it didn't matter. It was really, really hard. But if I can do it, trust me, you can do it. You may just have to work at it for a while. It depends how long you've been practicing feeling something else. But this is a really simple, gentle way to start. And the point I wanted to make about 6 minutes ago, I went off on a big circuit, but the point I wanted to make is that it's built into it. It has the cues to say, hey, don't beat up on yourself if you find this hard. Realize that your simple effort to change, just right now, just for a minute, and oh gee, you got a flicker of a different feeling, that's awesome. Because your body's so used to doing something else. You got to realize what success looks like. And it's not, oh, I was feeling like I want to die and now I feel wonderful. It's actually, I moved the needle. And I understand how I moved the needle, and I understand why I moved the needle. I even know a little bit what I did to move the needle, and that means I can do it again because it's a muscle. And your muscle gets stronger if you practice it. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger was a weedy guy before he became a bodybuilder. Yeah, he probably took some chemical assistance, but he did the work and he built his muscles and he got strong. Well, it's the same with the muscle of your heart and learning to practice to feel those very uncomfortable, unfamiliar, positive feelings if you're used to feeling something else for so long. So every time you try, that's yay! And every time you feel just a little shift, that's awesome! And if you realize, if it is that hard for you, which it was for me, so this is why I'm saying this, if you realize that those little things that you think, oh God, I feel like, I felt like 0 and now I feel like 0.5. That's awesome because you changed that. It's no small thing. You changed that. We look for the big thing, it's gone from night to day. No, look for how the sun comes up. The sky gets a little bit lighter and then a little bit lighter, and then you start to see a bit of colour. It's just blue to start with, and then there's pink on the horizon, and then there's actually the whole rainbow on the horizon for a little while, and then the sky goes blue. That's how we change. So this exercise for some people may very well be their first attempt at going from black sky to a little glimmer on the horizon. And what you've got to realise is that when you do that, that's fantastic because you chose to do it. So, and you can do it, but you've got to realise it's a muscle. We all just think, oh, I need to have my birthday, or I need it to be Christmas, or I need someone to give me a hug or whatever before I can feel better. We actually have this wonder tool inside ourselves, but it's a muscle, and most of us, the muscle's really weak. So this is your first heart muscle building session for feeling differently. I don't even want to say better. I'm just going to say feeling differently. And if you've never tried it, well, now's your opportunity. There's a link underneath this post. Just have a click on it. Go and look at my Patreon. You can follow for free. And in a couple of days, I'll put it up. You can give it a try. I'd love to know what you think. And if you saw this on YouTube, thanks for watching this far. If you got to this far, big love. Feel free to like and subscribe and share and all those things that people say. I just appreciate you being here, and I look forward to that again. Until next week, bye-bye.